from flash floods to hurricanes to these sporadic, intense rainstorms. We even had wildfires a couple of months back. Climate-related emergencies can arise anywhere, anytime. You want to safeguard your family and yourself by preparing in advance, and you need to have an emergency plan that you can follow no matter where or when the action may be needed. A solid plan and the right supplies will help you feel calm and assured in an emergency, which can go a long way in keeping you, yourself, your family, and other people safe. Keeping a cool head can keep you safe. So we're going to talk about some of the action items that you need to handle now so that in the case of an emergency, you are ready to handle that no matter whether it's in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night or in the middle of a work day or a school day. You know how to get yourself and your loved ones to safety. The first thing you want to do is you want to stay alert for local threats. Flooding is the most common natural disaster in the United States. We just had two gentlemen who talked about those flood waters, and we talked last week about how just a foot of water can move a car. While other threats may be more or less likely depending on where you live, these flash floods are a huge killer. Knowing which types of emergencies can arise and confront you in your area is important to know. So here in South Louisiana, flooding and hurricanes, and then things that go along with the hurricane. So basically, if you prepare for a hurricane, you're going to prepare for almost all the other disasters that we're going to have. Flooding, electrical outlets, just these really intense windstorms. And so if you prepare for that, staying alert of the weather by registering with a trusted weather alert system, like I'm using Weather Channel, because the waters are moving. Here in Lake Charles, we're so low level, we have low line, we have so many bayous, our roads flood so quickly here that I use the Weather Channel and I'm getting constant alerts. Another reason that I like the Weather Channel is because I can set the parameters for the different areas that I travel or the different places that I have family. We talked about that last week, and we put a link over. This week we put a link over on our Family Strong from last week, talking about some of the different apps you can use for when it comes to getting those solid weather alerts. This week we wanted to talk a little bit more about what do you put in your evacuation or your emergency kit, or what Mr. Knight referred to as a go bag. I have a bug out bag, aka a bug bag, a go bag. I have a bag that if I needed to just catch it and leave, that I can do that, and I'm prepared for 3 days away from my house. And so let's talk about what do you need in your go bag, what I call my bug out bag. I say bug out bag because then I think about any emergency that arises. So not just a hurricane. I'm one of those kind of doomsday prepper type people. So I'm like, what if the government shuts down? What if what if the power grid failed? What if there was another major calamity that fell upon us, and I needed to just get away and get out to the country, or and by the country I mean like just out in the rural areas, stuff like that. So anyway, you don't have to be as into it as me, but you do need to have, especially now that it's hurricane season, you need to have a go bag. What do you keep in that go bag? You're going to want to keep water. 1 gallon per person per day for several days. Mr. Knight said 7. For drinking and for sanitation. So these are things that, during a hurricane we're going to fill up the tub and all that stuff. Yes, but what happens if that can't be your fallback plan? And remember what I told you. anything that you don't anything that you don't use during an emergency during this hurricane season, then at the end of the season you can incorporate that back into your household. So you're not going to have a bunch of water sitting around that you don't use. But I would keep some gallons of water, or at the very least empty gallons, so that I could refill them if there was imminent danger. But I personally just keep water, because what if it was something outside of a hurricane, something that we didn't see coming, and I just needed to have water. But I watch a lot of doomsday shows too. But having a couple of gallons of water on hand, and having empty gallons in the face of, especially of a hurricane. You need to have food that can last you several days, that's non-perishable, that doesn't have to be cooked or refrigerated. So canned things like Spam and raviolis, and then having a can opener that's not electric is something else that you want to have just in a box, honestly. Battery-powered or a hand-cranked radio. They do have the National Oceanic. NOAA has a weather radio, but what happens if you don't have cell signal because of the storm? You need something that you can still get access to the weather. You need a flashlight and the batteries for the flashlight. Do you have a first aid kit because things happen? Extra batteries. A whistle. What if, like John says, Justin said, and you're up in your attic and you need to signal for the Jones Creek to come and rescue you from your attic? A whistle. Dust mask, or those the masks from the pandemic, the PPE, the ones that the doctors use, because there can be contaminants in the air, especially up in your attic if it's not something that you air out. Or we just talked about plants. You don't know what, especially if you live near plants, or like my case, I live here in Lake Charles, so if something were to happen to the plants, do I have a little mask to help filter out some of that air? If you decide that you're going to stay in your shelter, do you have like tarp and tape, duct tape and stuff, in case you need to board up or you need to waterproof your structure? Do you have moist towelettes like baby wipes, trash bags, plastic ties, all of that stuff, so that you can deal with your waste materials, especially if you're going to shelter in place, because that can in turn cause contamination. So you want to be able to have like a bag, trash bags. I keep a roll of trash bags in my vehicle, and then that way that's part of my bug out bag. Do you have a little toolkit? You can pick these up as like when you're going to different events, like for example, Love Heals next weekend, Opelousas on the 17th, and the 20th up in Alexandria, and the 22nd up in Shreveport. Sometimes organizations give away these little toolkits with like a little screwdriver and stuff in there. Hold on to that; they can be very handy. Talked about the can opener. Do you have maps? Like I own an atlas because I like to travel. I like to read a map. I don't want to lose that. And what happens if I don't have cell service? And it was the funniest story, because my boyfriend said, like when he saw my atlas, he's like, make sure you bring your phone just in case. And I was laughing because the atlas is just in case. And so many people will grab their phone and they won't have a paper map. And then what happens if you're trying to evacuate east or west, like Night suggested, and cell service is down? The weather is too bad for you to even have service. Your battery is dying, and you've left without your charger. My Atlas, the batteries never die. I love it. All right. You want to make sure that you maintain your kit. So once you get all your stuff together, you're going to want to make sure that you keep all of that in a nice, cool, dry place. In your closet, in your bedroom is a great place to keep it. But let's say you're somebody who works like in an office and you're there 8 hours a day. You should have a bug out bag there at your home as well. Home, work, car. If you have a vehicle, keeping one in your car is great. Medicine. If you are somebody who takes medicine, a lot of times you can contact your pharmacist for a 7-day emergency supply and just keep that in your bug out bag. So you're not trying to worry about, oh my God, I take heart medicine, I take this, I take that. You can get a 7-day supply for emergencies, and you can just let your pharmacist know, hey, listen. Or if they say, I can't do that without your doctor, then you just explain to your doctor, hey, I need a 7-day supply to keep in my bug out bag, Dr. Brooks said. And if you have any pushback, then just contact Family Strong Foundation. We'll give you the words to say, or we'll connect you with an advocate who can get you. Now, we can't get who can get you 7 days of your heart medicine and all of that stuff, because those are things that are provisions that are covered through your insurance. And a lot of times you just need to know how to use the words to say to access that care. That brings us to the end of tonight's call. And so tonight we just talked about what needs to be in your kit, and then next week we'll talk about creating an evacuation plan. How are we going to get out away from this area if we're called to evacuate for whatever reason? Where are we going? If we're more than one person in the family, how will that look? Whether I have adult children, whether I have teenage kids, whether I have a spouse, whether I live with other family members, what is that going to look like so that we're all safely on the other side of this emergency? So we'll talk about that next week. I just want to let you know that we did put, this is coming from FEMA, from ready.gov. It is just a list of things to consider for your emergency supply kit. And I've put that over on our Family Strong Foundation Facebook page with today's, it's letting you know that it's today's post. This is giving me such the blues. With today's call. There we go. All right, so it's up there with today's date. And I want to put the flyer for the Wellness Wednesday call so that you will know that that is the resource for tonight's call. Tonight's care package is going to be a donation to Jones Creek Search and Rescue. We want to thank them for their time for joining us, and I appreciate them for getting on this call tonight. And they're the guys who are behind the scenes, so getting out and talking like this, even though it was just a phone call, it can be very intimidating, and I don't often think about that when I just impose on people and say, can you come on my call? And so I was very thankful to have them there, and I want to bless them for their time with us. And so our care package tonight will go into them because they are a charity. They are a nonprofit, and so they are not government funded. And so when they're out there and they're doing these things, these guys are taking out of their own times and their own pockets. And so we just want to give a little bit back to them. Don't forget tonight's quote. Learn from yesterday. So Justin and John just gave us really great, vivid examples how we can learn from yesterday so that we can live for today, because we've got our plan in place, and then we can hope for tomorrow because we don't have to be worried about tomorrow. So we have nothing but hope for tomorrow, because today we are living for today because we have all of our ducks in a row, and therefore we're able to just live for today because we never stop questioning. At the end of the night, when I'm going back so that I can learn from yesterday, once that clock hits 12:01, just reflecting on yesterday so that today I can live. I put all of my yesterday's housekeeping in order. I often won't go to bed until I have all of my yesterday in order, even if that means I'm up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And then that way, when I finally do wake up for this day, I get to focus on this day. And a lot of people say, you're a very busy person. How do you always keep such an upbeat attitude about everything? And how do you handle everything? A lot of times it's because I end my day at a different time, so that way when I'm finally ending my day, when I start my new day, I'm not full. Oh, I didn't do this yesterday, and I'm robbing today because I didn't do something yesterday. So that's something. Or I decided, hey, this doesn't need to be done today. Let me scratch that off. But a lot of times there's things that just have to be done today, but today is ended, so I just extend it. And when I go to bed that night, that day is over, and I can reflect on that. And then live for the new day today. I want to thank all of y'all who joined us on the call tonight. We look forward to you guys joining us again next Wednesday for our Wellness Wednesday Community Conference Call, sponsored by Opposition General Health System Spice Campaign. And thanks to those folks for putting faith in us for another 3 years. See you guys back here next Wednesday. Thank you.